Something feels off. Not loud, not violent, just quietly wrong. She never yells, she doesn't throw things, she smiles, nods, agrees. And somehow you still end up apologizing. You tell your friends, she's not like the others. No drama, no chaos. Just a calm presence that pulls you in like gravity. But that calm, it's the silence before erosion. Because what she masters isn't domination. It's subtle corrosion. The kind you don't notice until your reflection starts asking permission to exist. She is the covert narcissist, the artist of quiet control. Her brush is empathy, her paint is guilt, and her canvas is you. It starts innocently. She mirrors your thoughts, finishes your sentences, loves what you love, listens like no one ever has, and you think, finally someone who gets me. That's the hook. That's the echo she builds from your own voice. Because covert narcissism isn't about noise, it's about precision. Every gesture, every word, every silence is placed like a chess piece. You fall in love with a reflection, not hers, yours, projected back at you in perfect clarity, until one day, that mirror stops shining. You text her, "Are you okay?" Hours pass, no answer. She used to reply instantly. Now? Nothing. You start to wonder, did I do something wrong? That's the first fracture, the soft introduction of uncertainty. And once doubt enters your bloodstream, control follows quietly behind. Because in this game, attention isn't affection, it's currency. And she's the banker. A covert narcissist doesn't destroy you by force, she dissolves you by reflection. She learns your fears, your hopes, your weak spots, not to heal them, but to own them. So when you try to pull away, she doesn't scream, she whispers. And in that whisper, you hear everything you've ever wanted to believe. Rule card. The most dangerous cage is the one you decorate yourself. In the next chapter, we enter the illusion itself, where affection becomes a weapon and attention turns into addiction. She doesn't rush you. She reads you. Every gesture, every pause, every sigh. You think it's chemistry. It's not. It's calibration. The covert narcissist studies your emotional rhythm like a musician learns a melody. She learns what makes you feel seen, what makes you open up, what makes you need her. And then she gives you exactly that, but only in doses. You feel like you've met someone who understands you on a level no one else ever has. You mistake familiarity for fate. But what you're really feeling is mirroring, a psychological tactic where she reflects your personality back to you so perfectly, you start to believe she's your missing half. It's not love, it's design. In the beginning, it's intoxicating. You talk for hours. She remembers every detail, quotes you back to yourself like poetry. You feel exposed and adored all at once. The connection feels deep, spiritual even. But it's not depth, it's data collection. She's mapping your emotional landscape, where to praise, where to push, where to pull away. And soon she'll use that map to navigate you. Not toward love, but toward control. Weeks later, you start to notice it. The pauses, the distance, the affection that used to pour like water, now drips like honey, slow, rare, precious. You feel the change, but you can't explain it, so you chase it. You replay old texts, scroll through her messages, trying to find where it shifted. You don't realize it yet, but she's activating the intermittent reinforcement cycle, the same psychological loop that makes gamblers pull levers long after they've lost everything. Random rewards, unpredictable affection. That's the hook. The less she gives, the more you crave. And that craving feels like love. This is the velvet mask, the stage where affection is currency and your emotions become her leverage. Every smile is earned. Every silence feels like punishment. But what you don't see yet is that her love was never about you. It was about power. The power to make you feel chosen, and the power to make you feel forgotten. You think it's connection, it's conditioning. Because when love becomes unpredictable, it stops being love. and becomes dependence. Rule card: when affection feels like a reward, you're no longer in love, you're in training. In the next chapter, we go deeper into the mechanism beneath the mask, how your compassion becomes her control, and why the softest cries for help often hide the sharpest hooks. It starts small. She sighs, she says, "I've just been through so much." You lean in, you want to help. That's your instinct, to comfort, to fix, to protect. But that instinct, that empathy, is the lever she pulls. Because the covert narcissist doesn't demand attention through arrogance. She earns it through wounds. Real or imagined, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you feel responsible for them. She tells you about her ex who never appreciated her, about the friend who suddenly stopped talking to her, about how people just don't understand her, and you, unknowingly, take the bait. You want to be the one who finally does. You become the hero in her story, the safe place, the exception, the cure. But you're not being loved. You're being used as emotional supply. Every comforting word you give, every reassurance you offer, feeds her sense of significance. And like all supply, it must keep flowing. When you start pulling back, she doesn't explode. She deflates. Her tone softens. Her messages get shorter. She acts hurt, not angry. And now, guilt becomes the weapon. You find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do. You feel cruel for setting boundaries. You start managing her emotions like they're your own. That's not love, that's emotional outsourcing. Publicly, she remains the saint. Calm, kind, always misunderstood. She smiles sweetly at your friends, thanks the waiter, donates to charity. No one would ever believe you if you said she was manipulative. That's the brilliance of her mask. It's not built to impress you. It's built to disarm everyone else. Because image is her fortress. As long as the world sees her as gentle, you'll question your own reality. You'll tell yourself, she's just sensitive. She means well. She's going through something. But what she's really going through is you. You've become her reflection pool. A place to see herself as the victim, the savior, the misunderstood soul. And every time you comfort her, you reinforce the illusion. Here's the truth. Covert narcissists don't steal your strength. They convince you to give it away. They do it with stories, not screams. With sighs, not ultimatums. With pity, not pride. And once you're emotionally invested, you'll defend them to anyone who questions their motives. That's how they win. Not by being right, but by being fragile. Rule card: the easiest person to control is the one who confuses guilt with love. In the next chapter, we step into the quiet chaos, where your memories start to blur, your confidence begins to bend, and reality itself becomes negotiable. Because that's where the covert narcissist truly thrives, in the fog of your own mind. It never starts with shouting, it starts with doubt, a forgotten promise, a slightly different version of a story, a calm correction that makes you question your own memory. You say, "I'm sure you said that." She smiles gently. "I think you misunderstood." And just like that, a seed is planted. Gaslighting isn't always fire and fury. Sometimes it's warmth and light, a soft tone, a gentle expression, and words that twist reality, one thread at a time. That's why it's called gaslight by candlelight, because it doesn't burn, it glows. She doesn't make you feel crazy. She makes you feel uncertain, and uncertainty is the perfect leash. She tells you, "I never said that." But you remember the moment, her words, her tone, everything. Still, she looks so calm, so certain, so composed, that you start doubting yourself instead. Maybe you did mishear her. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe it's you. And that's the moment she wins. Because now, your reality is negotiable. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental tension that happens when your experiences and your beliefs collide. You know something's off, but you also believe she loves you. So you choose the story that hurts less. You choose her. Every time you bend your truth to fit her version of events, You lose a small piece of your own mind. And that's how she controls you. Not by force, but by rewriting your memories in a tone that sounds like reason. When you confront her, she won't argue. She'll sigh, she'll say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Not "I'm sorry," not "you're right," just "sorry you feel that way." It's not an apology. It's a reset. A way to make you question whether your feelings are valid at all. Then comes the silence. The strategic silence. You try to fix it. You text, you call, you explain. And she says, "I just need space." So you back off. And now she controls your pace. Her silence becomes punishment. Her attention becomes reward. And you become trained. This isn't manipulation, it's conditioning. The covert narcissist doesn't twist your reality in one night. She does it through repetition. 1,000 small moments, 1,000 small corrections. Until one day you're apologizing for things you didn't do, defending words you never said, and thanking her for forgiving you, for the damage she caused. Rule card. If someone rewrites your memory often enough, eventually, you stop trusting your mind. In the next chapter, we enter the triangle room, where she's never alone in the story, where every connection becomes a contest and every silence hides an audience. Because for her, control is never one-on-one. It's a stage performance, and you're only one of the actors. There's always someone else in the room. Even when it's just you and her, you can't see them, but you can feel them. The ex she still mentions, the friend she compares you to, the stranger she swears is just a co-worker. That's the essence of the triangle room, her quiet arena of emotional comparison. You think it's love. She thinks it's theater. A covert narcissist thrives on emotional triangulation, not confrontation, contrast. She'll never directly tell you you're not enough. Instead, she'll remind you who almost was. He used to bring me flowers. She listens better than you. He still checks on me sometimes. Each line is a seed, and it grows in the soil of your insecurity. Now you're competing with ghosts, people who may not even exist, but that doesn't matter. Because the mind doesn't distinguish between imagination and threat. Your brain releases cortisol, adrenaline. You feel danger. And in that emotional chaos, she becomes the only source of safety. The same person who triggered your anxiety becomes the one who can soothe it. That's not love. That's a closed psychological loop. Psychologists call it reactance, the instinct to want what you think is slipping away. When she introduces scarcity, a rival, a threat, a hint of distance, your desire intensifies. It's not passion, it's panic, the illusion of loss. And she knows that. She studies it. She orchestrates it. Every photo she posts, every old friend she mentions, every story of someone who used to care more. It's not random. It's crafted tension. Because tension creates attention, and attention is her favorite currency. Then come the allies, the nice people who defend her. Her best friend who tells you she's just emotional, don't take it personally. Her coworker who swears she only talks about how much she loves you. They're not villains, they're extensions. Flying monkeys, unknowing accomplices in her narrative. They don't see the manipulation, they see the mask. And every time they back her story, your reality loses another vote. Now it's not just you doubting yourself, it's the whole room. She builds the triangle because it ensures one thing: you'll never feel secure. And insecure people are easier to guide. They crave reassurance. They chase validation. They cling to the very hand that destabilizes them. It's a cruel symmetry. The more she compares you, the more you try to prove you're enough. And the more you try, the less she values you. Rule card. When love feels like competition, you've already lost to the illusion. In the next chapter, the mask begins to slip. The kindness turns critical. The warmth turns conditional. We step into the erosion phase, where your boundaries dissolve, your confidence fractures, and the only approval that matters is hers. Because once she owns your sense of worth, she doesn't need to raise her voice. Your mind will do the work for her. It doesn't happen overnight. There's no explosion, no obvious break, just small, delicate cuts. So subtle you learn to live with them. She doesn't say, "You're worthless." She says, "I'm just disappointed." She doesn't demand, she suggests. She doesn't insult, she guides. And each small correction feels reasonable, until you realize the person being corrected no longer feels like you. At first, you defended yourself. You stood your ground. You said what you thought. But she didn't fight. She sighed. She went quiet. She made you feel like you hurt her. So you softened. You adjusted. You learned how to phrase things better. That's how the erosion begins. You stop speaking your truth to keep the peace. You stop asking for what you need because it starts an argument. You start saying, "It's fine," when it isn't. You start apologizing for the right things said the wrong way. You start protecting her emotions at the expense of your own. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you become the peacekeeper in a war you didn't start. This is where blame transference takes root. The covert narcissist is never the storm. You are. If she lashes out, it's because you triggered her. If she goes silent, it's because you weren't patient. If she lies, it's because you made her feel unsafe. Every hurt becomes your fault, and every apology becomes your responsibility. You start keeping score, not of what she's done, but of how you've failed to stop it. That's not accountability, that's conditioning. In psychology, this is called identity erosion, a gradual loss of self-definition caused by constant invalidation. When your perceptions are dismissed long enough, your brain starts outsourcing reality to the person who seems most certain. And she is always certain, calm, controlled, convincing. So you hand her the steering wheel of your self-perception. And soon you can't tell if your reactions are fair or if you're just overreacting again. Then comes the exhaustion, not dramatic, just endless. You sleep, but never rest. You laugh, but it feels performed. You start missing the version of you that existed before her, but that version feels like a stranger now. You used to be grounded, curious, alive. Now you're careful, measured, dull. You don't realize it yet, but she's replaced connection with control. And you've mistaken compliance for closeness. And here's the cruelest truth. She'll tell you that you've changed, and she'll be right. You have. But not in the way she means. You didn't become worse. You just became smaller. Smaller in expression, smaller in confidence, smaller in presence. All so she could feel bigger. Rule card. When love demands you shrink, it isn't love. It's domination disguised as devotion. In the next chapter, you begin to awaken. You start to see the machinery behind her charm. And for the first time, you stop asking how to make her happy and start asking why you ever thought it was your job. Because breaking free isn't about leaving her. It's about finding the person you lost, the one who's been whispering under the silence all along. Freedom doesn't begin with walking away. It begins with seeing clearly. For months, maybe years, you've been fighting an invisible battle between what you felt and what you were told to feel. You were taught that love meant understanding her pain, forgiving her moods, being the bigger person. But real love doesn't require you to lose yourself to prove it's real. So the question becomes, how do you reclaim your sanity without becoming like her? How do you escape the game without turning it into another performance of control? The first step is silence, not the silence she used to manipulate you, but a silence of your own. One born from clarity. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop trying to convince her of your good intentions. You can't reason with someone whose power depends on confusion. This is called the gray rock method. Remaining emotionally neutral. No fuel, no reaction. You become uninteresting to the drama. It's not about revenge, it's about peace. Next, time-boxed conversations. Set boundaries not with emotion, but with structure. Decide when you talk, decide what you talk about. End the moment it turns circular. You're not being cold, you're being deliberate. Because the covert narcissist feeds on emotional elasticity. The longer the discussion, the more the narrative bends. So you anchor it short, direct, calm. That's how you reclaim time, and with time comes truth. Then comes self-efficacy, the quiet process of rebuilding your sense of power. Start small, routine, exercise, sleep. Things that seem trivial but teach your nervous system one essential truth: you're in control again. Because trauma bonds aren't broken by insight, they're broken by stability. You can't think your way out of emotional chaos. You have to live your way out of it. And when she tests you, because she will, you'll feel the old urge return. To explain, to fix, to please. Don't. That urge is your conditioning speaking, not your conscience. You don't owe closure to the person who broke your peace. Remember, closure isn't something you get from them. It's something you give to yourself. When she says, "You've changed," she means, you're no longer controllable. Wear that as your crown. You'll find moments of doubt. You'll crave the familiar chaos because calm feels foreign at first. That's the echo of her control fading from your system. Don't run back to noise just because silence feels strange. Sit with it. Let it stretch. That's where healing hides. Rule card. You don't win the game by playing better. You win by putting down the board. In the next and final chapter, we reach the aftermath. The moment after escape, where peace feels both alien and sacred. Where you finally understand that the goal was never to change her. It was to recover yourself. Because once you do, you realize she never really destroyed you. She only erased the parts of you that were still sleeping. Freedom doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like silence. And at first, that silence is unbearable. After months or years inside her orbit, peace feels empty. No more tension, no more drama, no more chaos disguised as connection. You think you miss her, but what you really miss is the intensity, the unpredictability, the adrenaline of emotional survival. That's not love. That's a trauma bond, a loop between pain and relief that tricks the brain into craving what hurts it. When she was kind, your body flooded with dopamine. When she withdrew, cortisol took over. Over time, those chemicals braided together until chaos felt like comfort. So now, when peace arrives, you mistake it for boredom. But that quiet you feel? That's your nervous system learning safety again. That's healing. You'll start to remember things, small things, moments you minimized, red flags you rationalized. It'll hit you like an aftershock. How much you tolerated to avoid being abandoned. And you'll realize something both painful and beautiful. You were never weak. You were loyal. You were hopeful. You believed in potential. That's not your flaw. That's your gift. You just gave it to the wrong person. Recovery isn't revenge. It's reclamation. You'll rebuild routines. You'll reconnect with people you drifted from. You'll rediscover small joys. Music, walks, laughter without anxiety. Each ordinary moment becomes sacred again because it's finally free of strategy. You'll learn that safety doesn't mean stillness. It means self-trust. And one day, she'll reach out. They always do. The tone will be soft, maybe nostalgic. "Hey, I was just thinking about you." Your heart might skip. But this time you'll recognize it. Not as longing, as testing. The same script, different season. And you'll feel something powerful. Nothing. No anger, no craving, just peace. That's when you'll know you've won. Because true victory isn't revenge. It's indifference. Forgiveness, when it comes, won't be for her. It'll be for you. Not to absolve her, but to release yourself from the endless rerun of why. You'll stop needing closure from the person who thrived on confusion. You'll stop explaining what only you were meant to understand. You'll stop waiting for an apology that could never rebuild what she destroyed. You'll realize you don't need her to admit what she did, because you've already outgrown the need for her to understand it. Rule card. You don't heal by winning her back. You heal by never needing her again. So here you stand, not broken, not bitter, but born again through understanding. You've seen how subtle control can be. How silence can wound deeper than words. how love can become a labyrinth of power and pity. But now you know the architecture of that maze, and once you understand the design, you can never be trapped inside it again. Because real strength isn't about how much you can endure. It's about how much truth you can face without flinching. Walk forward, quietly. No revenge, no need to prove. Just the peace of someone who finally realized that surviving her wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of yourself,